Well, hey there, everybody. It's Michael Osinski.
And it's also Tyler Esselman.
And you are listening to and or watching This One Goes to 11.
This One Goes to 11 is our podcast where each week we invite someone into our virtual living room to make their case for what they believe is a perfect album.
So perfect that 10 out of 10 just isn't good enough.
Welcome back, all you crazy cats. We are here on This One Goes to 11, Season 10. We hope you're enjoying the ride so far. If you're not familiar with the concept for Season 10, we're doing all repeat guests, and they all have to choose an album from before they were born. It's our thing this season. I think it's kind of a fun thing to hang our hat on.
It's been fun. Yeah, it's good. It's good. We're getting some older albums in the pantheon.
Yeah.
You know.
Some very interesting entries into the pantheon this season so far. And we're just going to keep going from strength to strength in that sense. Super excited to have this repeat guest. I was hoping that he might make an appearance again someday, and lo and behold, we made that happen. So, Michael, who are we talking to today?
We are talking to my former colleague from St. Lawrence University, Tyler Rife. Hey, Tyler.
Woo! Am I allowed to talk now?
Yeah, you're allowed to talk now. Yes.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everyone. Great to be back, boys.
Oh, the boys are back in town. Our first ever in-person guest. Ever.
Yeah.
What fun that was with Animal Collective's Feels, which just celebrated 20 years, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Dang.
Did you learn that from Stereo Gum?
I learned everything from Stereo Gum.
Well, you know, when albums turn 20, I actually appreciate those because they're acknowledging the greats that have come before us.
Dude, that's real music journalism.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff right there, man.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about everything from Stereo Gum. Tyler, how the heck are you? What's going on? How's your life?
Life is amazing up here in the North Country, New York. We are weathering the worst winter that I've experienced in 5 years of living here, but I am finding a way through each and every day.
And you know what? What more could you ask, really?
Right.
That's pretty good. You're making your way through each day. Like we said, super, in the Animal Collective episode, one of my favorite episodes of ours. I try not to play favorites, but man, that was a good one. There was something. The room had a buzz in the air. I loved it. And so we kind of. I'm not saying that I had like an idea of what your taste was like, but when we saw your list for your second appearance, I was also like, damn, I was right in the pocket on understanding where Tyler Rife's at musically.
Well, I mean, correct us if we're wrong, but wasn't it a list of one, Tyler Rife?
I want to say so. I think the first I was like, I'm going to talk about big science, but then I think maybe the first time around, the albums that I had offered up were maybe Feels and The Oil of Every Pearl's on Insides by Sophie.
Yes. Which we ended up talking about anyway.
We did talk about that album anyway. And then there was something else in the mix there.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
See, it's right in the pocket. Right in the pocket, baby.
Maybe Hi, How Are You by Daniel Johnston.
I'm going to go back and look at it, but I think that sounds all right.
Killer episode 2.
Woo!
Yeah,
Woo!
anyway.
Okay, we haven't talked about him, but all right. So without any further ado, what album hath thou brought before the This One Goes to 11 tribunal for your second appearance?
We're talking about Laurie Anderson's 1982 debut album, Big Science.
Pew, 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 pew. Soundboard is just provided by my mouth for,
I feel like
this episode.
This is an episode where we really could have benefited from a soundboard and from vocal manipulation.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Vocoder.
Yeah, a little vocoder action.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. So interested to hear about your perspective on Laurie Anderson. I feel like I didn't have too much familiarity with Laurie Anderson before you nominated her. Just like kind of the most cursory awareness. I don't know, Michael. Where was she for you before Tyler's nomination?
I'm very aware of her because she's very much as we will talk about, like part of that whole like avant-garde performance art scene. And in many ways, I do sort of feel like when people think about and this is not meant to be a dig what I'm about to say here, but like when people think of the like most stereotypical version of like what performance art is, they tend to think of Laurie Anderson, and that might just be because she kind of invented a style and that a lot of people, you know, copy later on. But anyway.
I'm not sure if you were able to listen to it, Tyler, but our episode about Patti Smith came out just recently. And
no, I haven't, but I want to. I love Patti Smith.
Right, and there's a shared spirit here, you know, like there's the shared spirit of that kind of 70s New York thing. But Patti, totally. I guess, would have been like maybe like the early part of a generation, and Laurie's maybe the later part of that generation. Am I reading that timeline correctly?
I don't know. I think they might have been closer than more contemporaries than we think. It's like same spirit, different avenues. So
different presentation. Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a whole thesis to be written there. Anyway. For those of you who also may not know Laurie Anderson very well or Big Science, we have a very convenient feature to get you up to speed on that. Let me tell you what it's called. It's called The Beginner's Guide to Laurie Anderson's Big Science in 60 Seconds. Mm-hmm. You remember this thing? Remember this thing, Michael?
I do remember
this thing, Tyler?
I do.
Yeah. See, so this is a great opportunity for, as you start to build your case for the perfection of this album, you get a chance to assess Michael's job in whatever terms you see fit. You're an academic, you can put words to it. I feel certain. Michael, do you feel ready for this?
I feel quite ready for this.
Okay, great.
I enjoyed this one.
Oh, fun. Okay,
That's
cool.
all I will say.
Well, I've got 60 seconds on the clock. You ready?
Okay. Yep.
We're starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello? Is anybody there? Do you know what avant-garde means? Are you familiar with performance art? Might I suggest the work of Laurie Anderson? Raised just outside of Chicago, she made her way to New York to study sculpture, play the violin, and redefine the word performance with her confounding and astounding pieces. Have you heard of a tape bow violin? She invented it in 1977. Replacing the horsehair bow with magnetic tape and programming it to play MIDI-based audio samples. Did you hear about her 1982 album Big Science? It defined her style, the electronic instrumentation, the vocal filters, or audio drag, as she likes to call it. Not to mention the cuckoo Banana Crackers lyrics.
5 seconds.
Cuckoo, cuckoo. These were the songs, and this was the record of the songs that made their way into her 8-hour performance art piece, United States Live, including Oh Superman, which went to number 2 on the UK singles chart. Did you know she composed music to Spalding Gray and was married to Lou Reed of the Velvet Underground and directed a documentary about her dog that was also about 9/11 and helped create the opening ceremony for the 2004 Summer Olympics in Athens and also the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver? I'm done.
Yay. That was like 2 full minutes.
Oh yeah, I was like 60 seconds.
Yeah. Well, you needed the pausing, you needed the up talk, the questions.
I did.
It was all really necessary to get to the vibe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Clock be damned.
How would you rate it, Tyler Rife?
It was excellent. I would rate it a 10 out of 10.
Excellent.
Really well done.
Thank you.
Classic, like apple pie and ice cream. 10 out of 10, right?
Well, thank you for that, Tyler. Before we jump into talking about Laurie Anderson and this album, we should touch base with you. And specifically, I mean, we talked already with you about, like your relationship with music. We're curious to know how you're listening to music now, what relationship you have with it now. Has it changed since the last time we talked to you? Like what role does music serve in your life in early 2026?
For listeners and viewers, I suppose, I am on sabbatical, which basically means for college professors that you're on an extended break in order to do research and reading and reset your kind of intellectual program in many ways. And because I live in the North Country of New York, where we're having the fiercest winter that we've had since I've experienced it, and from many folks that I've spoken to at my university, it's kind of like a notoriously nasty kind of winter below sub 15 below zero and things like this. So it's been fairly rough outside, but that's also given me a lot of time to listen to music deeply inside and go on little projects where I am very much deep diving into the full discographies of artists that I've been vaguely interested in throughout my life, but haven't really taken the time because for whatever reason, their discographies and careers seemed a little bit too cumbersome, or it didn't seem like the right time. And so, for example, while I do a treadmill walk every day, because remember, I'm not going outside, but I need to move my body a little bit to simulate that I still have a body.
Endorphins, baby.
I've listened to the full discography of Sonic Youth over the course of a few weeks. I also listened to the full discography of the black metal band Sun O. It's like Sun O.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of that. Like very bassy metal music. I also listened to the full discography of the minimalist acoustic experimental artist Grouper, as well as the full discography of William Basinski, who's I
don't know that one.
Tape loop, ambient kind of postmodern composer.
Okay.
Really talented. He did the Disintegration loops, which is his most popular project. He recorded on September 11th, 2001. And kind of played loops out until they disintegrated from the like toxic pollution. Really amazing project. So I would say my music habits are today very much defined by just the circumstances of my life. It's given me a lot of time to explore and create, positions and like rankings in my head about like where was Sonic, totally out of context. Sonic Youth have been broken up for, decades at this point. But, how does my out of context experience with it, like, I don't know, help me register that history. So it's been fun.
So you're streaming this?
Yes. Yeah. I'm kind of Apple Music librarying, like dropping them all into my library, creating the playlist literally chronologically, and then picking up where I left off from the day before.
How does that feel? How does it feel to be a streamy boy? I'm a streamy boy too.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I think it's kind of hard to avoid in this day and age. There's so much music to engage. And so, I kind of still pay a decent amount of attention to new releases and artists that I'm interested in. Maybe I'm less good at keeping up as I used to be, but I'm at least keeping up with the artists who I'm already invested in. And just, trying to listen to maybe a new album or two per week.
Were there, I can't remember, were there any decent record stores in Potsdam?
No.
Okay. Great. Excellent. Yes.
Are you a vinyl guy then?
I love going to Ottawa or Montreal and getting records. I also am a user of that old Discogs if I'm trying to seek something out. Yeah.
But at least that you could attribute it to a record store that you want to support, right? Isn't that kind of how it works, how Discogs works?
Yes. I mean, I'm pretty much exclusively on Discogs buying from either independent sellers, just like people, or small record shops.
Hell yeah. So, hey, that's an important part of the ecosystem, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get on that Bandcamp, tip a little bit more often because I think they're a good company. From everything I've read, it sounds like their heart's in the right place as much as you can be. And I don't know, that stuff adds up, I suppose.
Totally.
Yeah. I kind of believe in karma, I think you can't. Karma is one of those things, not to get off on a tangent here, but karma is one of those things I feel like you have to hold it in your head, but you can't let it be the thing that you use to enforce your actions, right? You can have this like general awareness of karma, but if you're like if you're thinking about karma too much, then it's done with the wrong spirit, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like you need to be dialectical about it, or like be in two minds at once all the time. I think about this in terms of like human agency. Like you can't move through the world thinking you have no agency. You need to like exert yourself and sort of like intervene in bad things or try to contribute good, even if philosophically speaking you can accept the premise that we are simply a composite of external stimuli that like came to impact us and shape our beliefs and our decisions, and that there is maybe no like no such thing as agency, but that doesn't mean you need to be cynical about reality or nihilistic even. You can still imbue life with meaning, you know?
I was about to say, I think that makes you the opposite of a nihilist.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, people have described me as a nihilist before, but that's not the same thing as a pessimist per se, right? It just means that like our construction of meaning is something personal, and it's not an inherent or natural quality of
Important
reality.
distinction.
I wasn't during our time together. I only ever got nihilistic vibes off you when you were having a bad day.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's all of us, right? You can't because if you're taking your assertion about our existence as a set of external stimuli that have come to bear in an individual, then of course you would be nihilistic when you are wrapped in negative external stimuli and like on a particular day, right? So it's I kind of like that. Also gets into like a Buddhist thing of like emotions are just weather. Our sensations, the things that we're experiencing, the things that we experience from music or art or anything like that, it's just kind of like weather passing through us in some ways. Right? It's kind of a fun way to think about it when you're like, this is why the weather of the music that we grew up with still passes through us so strongly. I feel like because it's like literally putting a set of experiences through your body again that you've had over the course of your life. You know what I mean?
And that you experienced for the first time when your sense of the world and your body and what was possible was so raw, and that you can in small ways recover that momentarily by like turning back to that thing. I'm in a wavelength right now where I'm trying to not be too nostalgic about the stuff that I used to like or the ways that like art hit me then, and trying to recreate it now, especially in the case where the artist that I like adored and worshipped then ended up being a complete asshole, and that, kind of distorted my perspective on what I was supposed to be getting out of this thing. But the chase of something that still is going to move me today or reflect in part like my sensory experience of reality now, that's been, an ongoing project. Not always easy, of course, but worth pursuing.
Well worth. Yeah.
Something tells me, based on an album that we are talking about later this season, that exact conversation is going to come up again. Not to dangle a carrot or anything, but I do think that it's gonna come up again.
We're interested in it, right? Like as part of this ongoing conversation we're having about albums. I feel like it's something that you must look at them in their context. I'm not one of those people that you can separate the art and the artist. Like it's a good transition to Laurie Anderson, I feel. Tell us more about your connection with Laurie and maybe like how you discovered this album, because I think Laurie would dig this conversation that we're having thus far.
I first encountered Laurie Anderson's music in a record shop when I was a first year in college, and I bought Big Science based on the album cover. It's one of the few instances where that happened. I can't imagine that I purchased it on a whim just based on that alone. Like, I assumed that I saw it on a list somewhere. It had been validated in my mind and I had maybe read a description, but I do know that I bought the record having never heard any of the songs on it before or knowing exactly what to expect. And so, like kind of what Michael was saying earlier about Laurie's performance art embodying a kind of Simpsonized, like what would eventually become a lot of people's kind of stereotyping imaginary of what performance art is. I was kind of looking for that, I suppose. Like, the album cover is so 80s. You could see it right here. It's so 80s. And so I was like, oh, it's going to be like spoken word. It's going to be electronic music. It's going to be kind of retro futuristic. And in many ways, listening to it, it sort of over delivered on some of those fronts. But what I would come to learn through repeated listens, and especially returning to it for this episode, is that the salience of the music and the kind of thematic exploration of it goes so far beyond the surface appearance of a performance weird, right? That it's like, it is an abstract expression of something that we experience, especially as Americans. And maybe I'm going too deep into it now, in terms of like analysis of what's going on. But even when I was first hearing it as an 18-year-old, I was very much struck by the depth of spirit of the music beyond its what's kind of become a cliche, I suppose.
That's the proper word to invoke, I think, because it's moved into stereotype. I think I agree absolutely with the fact that that's because she is sort of the platonic ideal of what we have from a mid-20th century New York avant-garde artist. And, you know, like there's shades of Talking Heads in there. Obviously, we talked about Patti Smith earlier. You know, like the work of her contemporaries is so referenced. They were all referencing the same stuff, the same kind of like design elements and the sort of, the sort of cleanliness of it all. You know, I know it was quote unquote dirty and kind of like grungy ahead of its time in its own way, but there was a kind of clarity about what was going on that I feel like you see in Laurie's work. She's just very austere sometimes, the way that she presents, you know, and I think that reminds me of David Byrne too. You know, like I can see the connections.
Absolutely. And the David Byrne connection, and I suppose you could go with the Velvet Underground as well, of trying to present a commentary, political, social, cultural, on what it means to be an American through the lens of a kind of alien perspective, or an alien perspective serving as the vehicle for coming to understand ourselves a little differently.
Yeah, alien feels like the right word. I was sort of thinking about that this genre, I guess, is it always and so many of her, you know, people who she influenced, there's always this sort of approach of like they are inhabiting an alien body that has come to discover like what humanity is doing, and like she was kind of the first one to do it. And I mean, in some ways, like all of the artists during this time period, like 70s and 80s, are making the familiar strange, and it just she's the one who like maybe does it the most simply, which in some ways maybe makes it the most accessible, because then I mean I the other like artist that came to mind was Richard Foreman, who was making stuff in New York.
Good
But
shout.
he got way more complex. I mean, he's got like giant strings across the stage that he like would paint on to make it look like you're seeing a dotted line in front of your experience, and just things coming from his own memory, like his sort of like subjective experience. And I definitely feel like I think there are subjective elements to what she is expressing here. I mean, I think even in the song "Oh Superman," it feels like there's also like sort of a familial thing happening that she's exploring in there at the same time as this other weird perspective on the world. But there's she's like pulling back layers as opposed to putting more on top of the situation.
Yeah, and I think that like listeners or viewers who are like completely unfamiliar with this album might hear this conversation and imagine that the music is clinical in some way in its sort of analysis of American life, and that avant-garde approach or that abstraction creates a distance between the listener and the artist. And that's, you know, I think this album in particular does a really great job of pulling off a magic trick where that is not actually the case at all.
Not at all,
it presents this alien perspective and then accesses like a kind of melancholy that you are no doubt familiar with by virtue of experiencing some level of alienation as just a subject of capitalism. And that Anderson uses abstraction to get there doesn't mean that you don't still feel that thing, or that there aren't also themes that are as familial and interpersonal as they are cosmic and technological or what have you.
Yeah, there's still a warmth there. It's not like, I mean, maybe if people who are listening to our episode right now have never heard Laurie Anderson, you're right, and they may think it's like something clinical, but she manages to infuse everything with a bit of warmth to it. Like she brings some humanity to the alien, I guess is a way of putting it.
You know who else she reminds me of in that sense is Bowie. You know, like there's there's a Bowie connection here, because as crazy looking and as like glammed out as all of that as Bowie was, you could still tell he had a heart on the inside, always. And that's like I think it's a hard line to walk, honestly. Just living in the public eye, like I think it's been made pretty clear to me right now that being famous would be terrible and being rich would be great. Like that is the distinction. And some people bear that like it's a weight on them. But I feel like a lot of times artists in their vein, artists who are coming at their work from this sort of like deep philosophical kind of yearning, which I would put them both into that category. It feels like it creates this very unpretentious. It's very unpretentious in a way, because it feels like almost workmanlike in its composition. I don't know if you would agree with that or not. Feel free to disagree.
No, I totally agree with you. I think pretension is something that comes to mind for a lot of people when delivered with the surface appearance of Laurie Anderson's performance, especially if you show them a music video. Right. But I think that's or a live show, because it registers as a lot of like kind of bygone cliches of performance art. But that is perhaps a symptom of the listener or viewer or what have you not having yet calibrated to the wavelength. But once you maybe get to the end of Oh Superman, that video or something, your mind will be like, oh, why did I like come to have chills down my spine, or why are my like eyes welling up with tears at a song that I don't understand the meaning of, or that is like not romantic in any kind of traditional sense. So it's just about that calibration, right?
Okay, I'll put a marker here in case we need to cut this for time, but I do want to say, one of the it's reminding me of a situation in which I saw a piece of performance art, and like I was totally like my expectations were completely subverted, which I think is kind of the beauty of when this happens, right? So this is when I was in France many years ago when I was in college, and I was at this like hippy dippy voice and speech program. It was great. It was so much fun. It was a great week. But what was crazy was that one of the evenings I was staying there at this like old, like church thing. And one of the evenings they were like, oh, there's going to be a performance art piece by this German artist. And I was thinking like, oh, when are they going to get naked? Like that's kind of like what like the first thought that passed through my head. But of course I went, and it was like the most affecting thing. It was like this crazy, because I left out a part. They're gonna do a performance art piece about Hitler, and I was like, oh God, when are they gonna get naked, right? And so then I go to the thing, and it was just absolutely stunning. Like there are images that are burned into my brain from this performance. And it's like, first of all, it got me so jazzed on theater, like kind of just the potential for the art form that still exists, even when people think it can be a very staid kind of cliche space. Sometimes that there's still this ability in a very visceral way, in a very immediate way, to affect an audience with this kind of performance. So super inspiring in that way. And the other thing is that he did get naked, but it wasn't a cliche. It was like, he had to get naked, like there was
no other way.
It was necessary, Yeah. And it's crazy. There were boots and glass, and like, it was unreal. It was unreal. Totally. Yeah. So, really affecting thing.
Well, Tyler, you've already been talking about it. What's your standout track from this album?
This is an easy one for me. It is the track Oh Superman.
All right, if you're on YouTube, you're about to see Oh Superman, the music video. Go enjoy it, and then come back to it and join us on the other side. Ha-cha-cha.